It's another Alex Ansary podcast for February 7th, 2015. In this podcast, I want to place extra emphasis on the importance of going in a more spiritual direction when we come to this awareness of the need for some of us to go our own way, or to be at peace with the fact that we've been on our own way for some time now. And it's important to go in that direction on the spiritual path towards self-discovery and self-empowerment, as opposed to going into the trap. And the trap is the world of resentment. It is the world of anger. It is the world of unchecked lust. And so men are going in different paths. Yes, they're going their own way, but what way is that? And is it a conscious way? And I think that there's going to be some very detrimental things that we're going to see within society as we see this expansion, this continuous, ever-expanding breakup between men and women on a larger scale. There's going to be huge social repercussions. And you're not going to see a healthy population in mind, body, and spirit. And this is a part of the master plan. So if you know that they want us stuck in hate, then we need to not succumb to that type of reactive nature, which is inherent in human beings, to react, to follow the propaganda, to see one group as the enemy. We see how it's worked throughout history, and we know how dangerous it is. It leads to genocide. It leads to murder. It leads to rape. It leads to violence towards that group. And it may not last forever, but it may last for a time. Like a collective insanity takes over, mob rule, where it's all about getting that one group or demographic, and things may settle down, the fires may die down, and things may calm, quiet for a period, and then things get insane again. We go through these cycles here on the planet where it seems like all hell is breaking loose and people are being turned against each other. So it's important to understand that we don't want to end up being duped into this spirit of revenge, spirit of resentment. And I see it alive and well on so many different levels. Racially, politically, nationalism, the gender wars, even trying to turn heterosexuality, heterosexuals against homosexuals, and vice versa, in particular, homosexuals against heterosexuals. It's over the top. And whatever situation we're looking at, we should not be boxed into this type of perception that we're being cornered against the wall and that we have to strike out and punch back and start fighting a certain way. Now, speaking our truth, that's one thing. And discussing the programming with concern and compassion for all parties. Having compassion for the women and men in today's society that have been damaged and mind-controlled, that have had their emotions perverted. All the men and women, all the women and men that have been blunted intellectually, spiritually, that have never really had love in their life. Whether it be through family or in a sexual sense, to really have a loving partner, to know what that's like, or to know what it's like to hold on to it for more than a few nights or a few hours, that sense of union. So there's a lot of damaged people out there that have never been loved. And some people want love in this world, but it's really hard, it seems, to find a loving partner. Even amongst people that are waking up to certain political truths, that are getting outside the left-right paradigm, they are not exempt from the programming that could be perhaps all the way down to a biological imprint left behind by whoever or whatever designed us into being a perfect slave species. I don't think that we're a perfect slave species, but I think that we've been definitely molded into something, and that our sexuality has been adulterated. So certain types of humans keep procreating. I want to keep this on point. There seems to me to be a darker agenda to divide us. And there's righteous anger and standing up for yourself and speaking your truth, and there's being stuck in that anger. And we need to understand the larger process that's going on and not take things personally. And it's easy to take things personally. It's easy for me to take things personally. I still do. And I'm working on that. And the reason I take things personally is because of all the pain that I've experienced and gone through in my own life, my life experience, all the different times that women have hurt me intentionally. And it's also taught me a little bit about how the archonic realms work, that evil oftentimes works through the people that are around us or closest to us, those that develop an emotional connection to us, especially when we're on a path in this matrix to do great things. Sabotage comes in the most mysterious of ways, and it's not necessarily something that's coordinated by the government. There are more ways to co-opt someone or attack someone or disrupt what someone's doing. So men, in a way, are being trapped by the dark forces, to get specific, into just simply being angry at women, distrustful of women. And there's going to be break-offs within the male sex, if you will, within the men going their own way movement as time goes on. And I think some people will go in a darker direction. And what does that mean? What does that entail? You know, and as this country really starts facing some crises, when we have to live and exist without a police force, we don't have running water, where money as we know it doesn't exist anymore, and people are, trading each other again, and it's back to human trafficking, and, we've stepped back a few hundred years to a few thousand years. And we're in situations like that, you'll see who's good and who's not, who's actually willing to step up and protect people, and who's just going to take advantage of people. And it seems like all of this is by design, all this manufactured resentment that they've got going on the racial level, and the war of the genders, and the perceived war of the classes. All this stuff is just arbitrary. These concepts, these boxes. But I think it's all being done because we're seeing quite likely the approach of this next bubble. And when this bubble pops, and that is, I'm talking about the economy, because we really haven't been in a recovery since 2008. We've seen our country get by on borrowed time. But when we go through a real hardcore economic recession where service jobs just don't come back, and there's just, not a rebound in certain industries to hold things up, like, what seems to be the case in Portland. When things get really bad, all that programming that's been used to turn people against each other. When times get tough, people hurt each other like a prison. Men hurt women, women hurt men. And it's not always done physically. In today's society, in this soft, open-air prison, people are hurting each other emotionally with their words. What I feel is unique about my podcast is that I believe that there is a dark force that's beyond male or female that is sending us against each other. It's spiritual warfare. And this type of spiritual warfare, seeing men and women against each other, it hurts to watch. It hurts to be on a planet and be somewhat empathetic and see it taking place, to feel it going on, to feel attacked myself. Whether it's because I'm guilty by association in the eyes of some women because I'm male, or to be attacked because I'm trying to bring light to some of these issues, and some people respond in an unconscious manner, almost as if they have entities inside them that are almost compelling them to communicate with me in a confrontational tone by reverting in almost a primal manner back to all their issues with men, instead of realizing for 5 seconds, I'm not trying to support that way of life or that patriarchal system that they're against. I myself am against control and domination and people being dominating in relationships, be it from men or be it from women. But I will find myself very much under attack for reasons perhaps the people attacking me don't even know themselves. And I've spent a number of hours just emotionally going over letting someone go out of my life that I was at one point, at least for a few moments, enthusiastic about a friendship developing. So I looked a little closer at this person and saw that even though you don't want to judge someone because of their known activities as a prostitute, I felt, honestly, that this person was attacking me in the way that they responded to my last video, why I don't go after a lot of today's women. And if you're not able to share as a man without being attacked, or without the message not being understood, or most of all, without a woman reverting back to marginalizing all men in the same way. When that's just done automatically as a knee-jerk reaction, it's something that seems to come from a malicious place, all there to bait us into conflict. And even psychic resentment, that is to say, even for those of you that may not like the term or may not believe in such a thing, but to be focusing anger in response at a certain person. It happens. And we have to try to not let that happen if it is happening. This is actually a topic that I'm going to return to in another video that relates to psychic protection and it's staying out of this trap of retaliating with angry thoughts and focusing rage at someone. And that's what I'm getting at. It's easy for us to do that, even psychically, even up in our heads, mentally, psychologically. And it drains us and it pollutes our energy field. And we want to steer away from that. Instead of that, we want to project love, and that's not an easy thing to do. But I think that when we do make the small steps in our own lives, taking personal, and this is, I'm giving myself advice on this. I'm not a perfect person. I haven't made all the best decisions. I have overreacted, but this is also a difficult time in my life where I'm going through certain things, and so certain behaviors I'm not going to tolerate. And so while I make a video and post and share about, eliminating certain people from my life, I'm also stressing the importance of staying out of the trap of retaliation, revenge, marginalization, understand the big picture, and understand as men and women that we are connected on a much deeper level. The oneness concept and principle has been forgotten by a lot of people today, and I don't think that we should let that happen to us. I think that we should meditate and reflect on the things that connect man and woman, and also all the other aspects of duality that we see in this reality that we're in, night and day, sun and moon, yin and yang symbolism, for example. So male and female, it takes both male and female to create both male and female. And yet we see so much seemingly hatred from what seems to be two different groups, but they aren't two different groups. That split within consciousness is there. And so as people go their own way, as men go their own way, do it in a conscious manner. Going in one certain direction, letting anger and build upon itself over time isn't going to be a very healthy thing for the body, mind, or the spirit. And there's a lot of different ways in which I think they want to lead us into a certain direction. This isn't just about splitting man and woman and leaving it at that. It's actually then taking society in a certain direction and influencing people towards certain behaviors that do involve hurting other people. And so it's really important that women understand this as well, that as men are pushed out of society, some men are not going to respond in a more conscious way. Some men are going to respond in a negative way, and perhaps some of the negative things that we're already seeing today in society actually stem from something else. And I'm not making light of the things that are happening in society. There are some horrible things that are happening within society now, some serious social ills. And when you're talking about situations where mothers are killing their children, and you're seeing stories like this emerging more and more violent episodes that we're seeing from some women in society. And notice I say some, not all. When we see more of this, and also on the male part, you see more suicides and troops, for example, returning from the Middle East that have committed suicide, other problems within society. It's a big issue. And it's not healthy for people to be silent when they see people suffering, when they see people affected by these social ills. People should address it. And people should be mature enough to not be so infantile and go, oh, you're attacking men, or oh, you're attacking women. I mean, that's a pretty insane, absurd suggestion when people are criticizing the downfall of society and how it's manifesting in our world. The very trap of being boxed into this male versus female battle of the sex species is totally insane. And I just want to be a voice of wisdom in the wilderness to remind people that it is insane and we shouldn't get caught up in it. And as we find ourselves caught up in it, we should reel ourselves back and ground ourselves back into reality. It's one thing to criticize the programming, and we should continue to go deeper into how backwards some of this programming is so we can identify it and then turn away from it and then choose a more mindful response or proactive way of existing in this reality instead of simply being another resentful automaton, of which we see so many male and female clones, if you will, in today's society. Thanks for listening.